Yeah, I'm solo. I'm a solo, and then I'm gonna bring y'all.
All right, cool.
I think we good to go though. Checks across the board. Let's get it. Good morning, good afternoon. Matter of fact, let me start over because every time I get ready to clip this, I always get mad at myself for not leaving enough space before. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you may find yourself as you listen to this and you're tuned in to the only sports podcast of Brains and Bars. It's a black and white theme featuring A1 and A Ward. You can check out every episode of the podcast by going to the podcast app of your choice, wherever podcasts are streamed, searching for It's a Black and White Thing or Brains and Bars and subscribing there. You can also subscribe as we are live on YouTube and on the at Brains and Bars Twitter feed. Go there, like, subscribe, so you can be notified of each time we go live. I do not do this show by myself. I do it with the homie A Ward. And I'm gonna see actually, and we got a special guest in the building because I don't know how to work StreamYard. I'm not a StreamYard pro, so everybody's coming up on the screen. So we got a special guest in the building. We got the good homie Arrowhead Pride contributor, Talk That Ish co-host, the homie Rece Nichols in the building. Can we call you Rece Nichols now, man?
Yeah, y'all still
Now
can
that
call me. I'm still Rece Nichols, man. You know,
I didn't know. I mean, I don't
I
think
mean my
it's
official writing name. Of course, I got to go under
yeah,
my real name, but they know me as Rece Nichols too. You know, my Twitter name,
yeah.
my Twitter handle is still Rece Nichols, man. Forever.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Ward, I'll start with you. How you doing this evening, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good, man. Staying busy, staying busy. Watching KU K State right now.
All
Can I
right,
get
that's
back to
what's
some
up.
writing, man? But yeah, other than that, I'm staying busy, man. Feeling good.
All right, yep. I am awardmerch.com.
Hmm.
This weekend, Big K versus A Ward going down RDE. Get your pay per view if you have not gotten it yet. Shout out to Charlie in the background. Uh,
Yeah.
um, so all right, man. So we got a dope show. We're gonna go ahead and jump into it, man, because time is of the essence. So let's start with breaking news first. In the world, in the NFL, first two coaching hires were announced today. The first one, I think they happened almost simultaneously, and there's a reason for that. We can get into that. First of all, I believe the one I saw first was Sean Payton was hired as the new head coach of the Denver Broncos. So another notable name joined the NFC West from the coaching ranks, and then in AFC South or AFC West. Sorry, I might have said NFC. And then in the AFC South, my guy, D'Amico Ryan's defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, was hired as the new head coach of the Houston Texans. So, Ward, I'll start with you, man. Like, what are your quick thoughts on those two names and what they might mean for the futures of those franchises?
Now we didn't get to see anything pick wise because they got to come up off some picks and stuff, right? For the Broncos.
So the Broncos sent a first round draft pick in this year's draft. This is the first round draft pick that they received from the Miami Dolphins in the Bradley Chubb trade. And I believe they also sent a second round pick to the Saints in order to get this deal done. I'll make sure I'm not missing anything else. Trying to go in. Let's see. Yep. And a 2024 third round. I'm sorry, no. They got the Saints 2024 third round pick.
Mhm.
So the full compensation, Denver's 2023 first round pick, next year's second round pick from Denver for Sean Payton, and the Saints 2024 third round pick.
Man, I don't know what I think yet. I guess I mean the Broncos reached big last year, and it turned out to not be necessarily beneficial to them. And here they are reaching big again. I mean, it's the Patrick Mahomes pressure effect, right? Like it's the panic. It's the I gotta stay up with competing in the division. Sean Payton's a good coach. I think Sean Payton's a great coach. Sean Payton does a great job at quarterbacks. So maybe it's a move to instill, because we talk about how confidence is such a key thing in quarterbacks, and Russell Wilson looks like he's probably lost a lot of confidence after this last year. So maybe it's a key move to instill some confidence in him to get him back to playing at a level that is expected. But yeah, the jury's still out. I refuse to be one of those guys that jump out the window. I am a little shocked that Sean Payton joined the division with Mahomes and Herbert and some other really great quarterback play. But he's a great coach, he'll definitely be better than Nathaniel Hackett, and I'm kind of excited to see what goes on there. So I'm not mad at it. The compensation, I don't think it's too bad. I thought they were going to get a couple first round draft picks for Sean Payton. So so I might look at the Saints like, really, you know what I mean? So I think the Broncos won in regards to that.
Yeah, D'Amico Ryan was their first choice. When he turned them down and chose to go to the Texans, when they reached back to the Sean Payton bag and got him. I don't think it's bad compensation. I feel like it's smart. Like you invested that much in Russell Wilson, you have to show that you're trying to do something. You know, you have to bring in a coach that you feel like can handle them. I don't think it moved the needle too much for the Broncos, honestly. When I look at Peyton, he did a good job in New Orleans and all that, but did they win any, one Super Bowl in a less talented division than what he's going to be in, in the AFC West? So he had a lot more talent. He had talent in New Orleans and didn't do too much with it there in a weaker division. So I really don't see him moving the needle too much in the outcome of the AFC West. Will Russell Wilson probably look better? Yeah, he'll be able to design more packaging and stuff that fits what Russell can do. But I still don't have them doing any greater than third or fourth in the AFC West.
Just remember the last Peyton that went to Denver turned around and won Super Bowls,
Yeah.
Yeah. they putting all their stock in Peytons.
Well, no Mahomes and Herbert's in
yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact.
That's a fact. Yeah, man, like I kind of agree with y'all. Like, I'm curious to see what Sean Payton can bring. I will say this. After they fired Nathaniel Hackett, Russell Wilson did start to play better, right? It wasn't prime Russell Wilson, but he was at least competent. And so I am curious to see what that looks like when you have offensive genius. I feel like the term is thrown around a lot, but you do have a really good play designer and play caller in Sean Payton. And, what did they do defensively? Because that defense was set up. I think part of the appeal of the Broncos and why they were such I don't want to say trendy. I feel like the Raiders were the trendy pick to win the division. But I feel like the Broncos were also kind of right behind them in terms of teams that could really challenge in the West, was because of Russell Wilson and that defense, which is set. And so I'll be interested to see where that goes. And I guess that kind of gets Rece kind of hits to my point that I want to make of. I also wonder what is going on in the front office, right? Because they flirted with Jim Harbaugh. That didn't work out. They made a run at D'Amico Ryans. D'Amico Ryans turned them down. They started talking to Sean Payton. Then today, according to, I believe it was either Ian Rappaport or Schefter, they made a run again at D'Amico to try to get him to sign. And once D'Amico turned him down for the final time, they then pivoted back to Sean Payton. So it kind of makes me wonder, like, what's at the top with the Waltons who now own this team? Like, what's happening? Like, why can't you make a decision between one of those? I get it. I'm all about doing your due diligence, right? Do it. If you want to go get your guy. Shout out to our guy, Cotton. Go get your guy, right? But it's just, I don't know, man. Like, it feels like they settled a little bit. So I'll be interested to see how that goes going forward when you were clearly after another head coach. And as far as D'Amico, go ahead.
Nah, is there a such thing as like coaching ring rust? Like, what's the last like big name coach that went and sat out for a year or two and came back? Like, is that anything to be worried about in regards to hiring him?
Nah, I mean, he's not Mike McCarthy, right? Like, I think Mike McCarthy sat for a couple of years in between leaving the Packers and going to the Cowboys. Because, like, he had that big article about how he sat around and got coaches and game planned as if he was still coaching a team, and analytics and all this other stuff, even though they still can't seem to come up with good end of game plans and clock management, whatever. That's not here nor there. But, I think that's about the closest. And I mean, Sean Payton, like I said, only a year removed, so it's not like the game. He's joining a new multiverse.
Is it just 1 year? It's not 2 years. It's just one.
No, Dennis Allen was the first. That was his first year as head coach in New Orleans.
Okay.
So now there should be no ring rust for him. He jumping right back into it. But like I said, as far as D'Amico, man, like I said, I hate to see that guy go. he had big shoes to fill once Robert Saleh went to the Jets to become their head coach, and he's done he did an incredible job, right? With that defense, number one in the league this year, top 10, top 5 last year. And I do wish him all the best. And I from one of some of the insider accounts, like they think he's got a lot of juice. They're going to get a quarterback to try to turn this thing around. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from there. Anything else y'all want to say before we jump into these games, man?
I'm interested to see the compensation as far as money for Peyton.
Money. You talking about Peyton? But I know D'Amico signed 6 years, right?
Yep, a 6-year deal.
And did Sean Payton sign a 5-6 year deal? Like, how'd that work?
I haven't seen anything on compensation.
They haven't said the compensation for Sean.
Okay.
I bet they gave him a bag.
They had, yeah. But
they had to.
I mean, where were they going to go if they didn't go Sean? Like, I mean, outside of those few that have already spurned them.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
You got it right.
That's why I feel like they when D'Amico Ryan said no, I'm gonna go to Texas. I feel like they had to throw everything at Sean Payton to get him to say yeah.
Yeah. No, I think D'Amico's not. I mean, it's not shocking at all. You know, I think we pretty much knew.
Do they have to hire a new defensive coordinator in Denver?
Do they have to hire who?
A new defensive coordinator. Who's gonna run that defense?
So Ejiro Evero was the defensive coordinator under Nathaniel Hackett. He has been interviewed. He is currently He is not under contract with Denver. He is He interviewed, I believe, in Indianapolis for their head coaching job. And I thought his name was in the running for some other D coordinator jobs. So we'll see defensive coordinator jobs. So we'll see what happens on that front. But yeah, he is currently a free agent. Absolutely. Look, I the Niners looking at Vic Fangio, and I was like, if they don't get Vic Fangio, like Evero will be a guy I would holler at quickly because I think he did a really good job with that defense in his first year as coordinator.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Well, shout out to the homie Titus, man. He stepped in and was with us last week. Fly, Eagles, fly, Shout out not the experts, man. So with that said, let's make that segue into the NFC title game, man. Niners versus Eagles went down this weekend, as still repping the home team, even though they didn't get the outcome that I wanted. That game, like I'll put it to you like this: that game, like if you were playing Madden, that's one of those where you hit reset. Like I low key want the Eagles to win for this reason alone, because I want Niners Eagles week 1 Thursday night football, because I want to run it back. Like that team to me, like in my opinion, the Niners, if Purdy doesn't get hurt, I'm not sure they win. I didn't pick them to win, but I think the game is competitive. And I think the defense, I know they gave up 31 points, the most rushing yards they gave up all year. But once you have a quarterback who can't throw, another who has a concussion, what else is there to talk about? Like that game, like it
was over.
It was over. It was over. And I hate that for that team that had been on this run. And I don't want to say magical, but it did feel like it was like the pumpkins turned, the carriages turned back into pumpkins, the horses turned back into mice, and that was it, man. So I get y'all what your thoughts on that game, because there's really not a whole lot to discuss. But
I mean, for me, it was like I kept saying, I ain't gonna lie, like I was betting against picking everybody but the 49ers every game, just simply because my mindset was that sometime this rookie this Mr. Irrelevant has to look like a rookie. And he kept doing everything that it was needed, to win the game, right? And I hate the way that it went down, and I hate it for him, because I feel like if he would have even competed and looked good in that game, it would have gave the 49ers a real tough thing to have to figure out going into next year. Not seeing how he performed on that stage kind of, to me, still sets the stage that if Lance is healthy, you got to give him the shot again. So it just messed up, because I think it robbed everybody of a great NFC championship. Once it went down, even if Johnson doesn't get the concussion, he just doesn't have the passing ability to be able to hang in that game. And it just took the soul out of the whole team. Even the defense. I just think it just took the life out of them, man, where they were just like, no matter how good we play on this defense side of the ball, if we can't score, we ain't gonna win. And it just felt like the life got sucked out of the Niners instantly. I mean, Purdy did everything he could to try to help him to come back. I guess the news came out today when he had a torn, was it UCL?
UCL, yeah.
Which is
elbow.
normally that's you see pitchers have to get Tommy John surgery in baseball when that happens. So he's trying to get second opinions. He doesn't want to get it repaired. He's hoping that maybe they can heal it, but I don't know how that gets better with time without it's a tear, right? Like I think you have to repair that in order for you to be a viable quarterback again. So, yep, 6 months right now is the initial time.
After he tried to come back and even threw a couple of passes with that, it shows his resilience. But man, I hope he get healthy so he can take another shot.
Yeah, it was a weird game. I don't think I've ever watched. I don't even know a playoff game or a football game necessarily where it was 14-7, and in my mind the game was over. Like even if you got a backup in, it's a formidable backup or something like that, and you're deep. But I mean, the minute it was 14-7 and they just had Josh Johnson, I'm like, there's no way they're gonna win this game, And we watched the game together, but I was just zoned out. I was tuned out. I wasn't paying attention to drives really. I was, 2 minutes to go in the second quarter, and it's still 7-7. I think they went into halftime 21-7, right? They scored with about 2 minutes to go, and they got the ball back off of the Freeman, or not the Freeman, keep calling him Josh Freeman, Josh Johnson fumble, and then they scored again, right?
Yep.
And so, yeah, it was frustrating. I mean, when I watched George Kittle's interview about like how just basically not having a chance because I don't have a quarterback, like it's a shitty feeling. It's basically what he said. Pardon his language in my read. But I'm just kind of like, yo, that's got to suck out there, like playing and just like looking and be like, yo, we can't throw a football. Like, there's no way, On the flip side, I actually didn't think the Eagles played exceptionally well. I thought they benefited highly from the fact that the Niners couldn't throw the ball and a lot of field position. They ended up getting the ball in great field position off turnovers and off just stalled drives. But I didn't look at the Eagles like, now mind you, they might have got up 21-7 and been like, this thing's in the bag. We're not about to show or do anything. But I thought they played okay, but I like what Titus said in the comments down there is I do think the Eagles needed a heavyweight fight. I do think they needed to get kind of punched in the mouth, and like kind of maybe have that feeling going into the Super Bowl because, with the Chiefs kind of limping in and the Eagles coming off of a big win that they didn't even really have to play, like who knows their mentality going into that, And so I definitely am looking forward to this Super Bowl though.
This is the type of game that I feel like will make NFL change a rule. Just because it's such a quarterback-driven league, and they realize it'll be something crazy like expanding the roster on game day to one more player, and that player has to be a quarterback. Like your third string quarterback has to be active on game. Like they're going to because they're going to look at that and realize how much of a great game got wasted because there was only two quarterbacks active. Like I can see them change the rule. Like, hey, on game day we're going to extend it to one more roster spot to have open, and it has to be three quarterbacks active on game day.
Because the Chiefs and Jaguars, right? I mean, if Chad Henne would have had to play and got injured, I think Jerick McKinnon was the backup for Henne. I don't think the kid from SMU was active.
He wasn't active. I can see them saying like on game day, three quarterbacks have to be active, and we'll extend a roster spot for them so it doesn't change anything you all have to do. Like I can easily see the NFL because it's a quarterback league. If you ain't got a quarterback, the game is done.
Yeah.
I mean, that's at any level. Like the first time when I show up the coach flag football and new kids are showing up, the first thing I'm asking is who can play quarterback.
Yeah.
If nobody can throw the ball, throw the towel in. Season's over.
This ain't the wishbone option. This ain't Army Navy.
Nah, so that used to be a rule, right? You used to be able to carry three quarterbacks. They changed the rule and so now most teams only carry two. And so I think you're right. I think the competition committee will probably look at that for next year to have a third quarterback. One last thing from this game, I want to get you guys.
What if they just had an all-time quarterback and he played for either team, like whichever team quarterback got injured?
That would be funny because, like, if you are playing the Chiefs, right? Like, I'm pretty sure you would have to put in the designation before the game. How many teams are going? Well, we'll take Mahomes.
Yeah, right.
We'll take him. We'll take him. And then how many backup quarterbacks will be like, hey, really? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I want to get y'all shout out to Titus, Josh McCown for all time.
That's hilarious.
I'm pretty sure there's a quarterback somewhere on someone's broadcasting team who could jump in and all of a sudden just be.
Oh yeah, Ryan Fitzpatrick was probably sitting there with Amazon Prime, like, hey, y'all need somebody.
Ready.
That man signed a contract for 2 quarters.
So I want to get y'all opinion on something. So obviously one of the early big plays in that game, 4th down. Jalen Hurts hits Devontae Smith deep on a pass. Looks like it's a great catch. Devontae gets up. He's motioning to the guys to get to the line, Let's run his next play. You don't get an opportunity to see that he's dropped the ball until after they've run that play. I saw Mike Florio post an article about what if the league, when you see that happens, what if they automatically stop, right? Because this is the only sport where when something like that happens, where you hurry up and rush to get to the next play, right? Baseball, you can have a challenge. You have up to 30 seconds to challenge. Obviously, basketball has plenty of stoppages. So what do you think about the league instituting a rule to halt play when you have those moments where a team is trying to rush to get to the line because they know or they think that the play shouldn't have counted?
I'm gonna say nah. Like, I think because you got the hurry up offense and stuff like that takes place. That a rule like that is going to affect all of that. If you try to slow it down and say, well, we got to give a team 30 seconds, like, nah, that's what the play clock is for. You got to have your people on it, man. Like, as soon as that thing happens, you see that people rushing, your replay people need to be on that mug. Like, hey, let's take a look at this. Or coaches need to make sure, like, if I'm a coach, I'm sorry. If I see the receiver that caught it saying let's hurry up, and I'm on the opposite side as a coach, I'm throwing a red flag just in case, just to stop it. And then if somebody whisper in my ear like, man, no, don't challenge. I'm like, all right, sorry, let me pick this up. Can you pick the red flag up once
you drop
it, or is it
no?
automatic?
I think once you drop it, I feel like I've seen.
Actually, you might be able to like finagle the verbiage. Like, you might be able to like, yeah, I want to challenge something that is not able to be challenged.
And they
right, so then they can be like, and you'd be like, oh, I can't challenge that. All right, and they're gonna make an announcement. Yeah, they can't challenge it because of the. But I don't know if you can turn around and make another challenge. And then after get your time to see it, and then be like, oh, well, now I want to challenge that part. I don't know if you can turn back around and try that, but.
Man, but if you see the person catching it trying to hurry up, that's your indication that they're not even confident.
I don't know. I feel like at the end of the day, we want the right call to be called. You know what I mean? And so, like, I kind of might disagree a little bit. Most of the time, anybody running a hurry up offense is running it because they know they didn't catch it. Unless it's the last 2 minutes or whatever, and then usually, like they might be, and that might put in a situation. But it's like, I know it's different sports or whatever. But the other night, LeBron gets completely hacked. You know what I mean? Like, completely hacked at the bucket. And we're just like, yo, like there should be a buzzer that goes off and be like, no, that was the wrong call. This is the right call. It's a game-changing call. Get it right.
Right. Man, I mean, as much as I hate that for LeBron, I actually didn't mind that call. I mean, so I don't want them to go ahead to fix that. I mean, you had an opportunity to get it right in real time, and you just got to go to overtime. As much as I hate
well,
that.
I think maybe the fix is just an extra challenge. You know what I mean? Like, maybe coaches are not dropping that flag because they just feel limited on challenges.
Well,
maybe a challenge doesn't cost you a timeout. The first challenge doesn't cost you a timeott.
Yeah, maybe.
Something like that.
I think teams already feel like, shout out to Titus. I'll bring this back up here, but he's like, I feel like the game moves slow enough at times without that, right? So, And shout out to 520 Collective who just jumped in the comments. Throwing the challenge flag should be a difficult choice, especially if the refs are handling their business. And I think that's where Kyle was, right? Like Kyle said, I didn't want to. I wasn't sure. We didn't have a good angle that showed definitively he didn't catch it, and I didn't want to lose that timeout and lose that challenge that early in the game, right? And so I agree with you guys. I don't think it's something that that you should institute. You might could talk me into 3 challenges. You get 3 a game, and you get to that first one doesn't count against you because I do. While I don't necessarily want more stoppages, I do think that's a big play, right? Because if they are able to challenge that and overturn it, or if the sky judge can see it, get a look at it in enough time to overturn it.
It was 4th down, I mean, yeah, that's a huge play.
Yeah. So then the Niners get the ball. Maybe he still gets injured. Who knows? Who knows what happens? But yeah, like I don't know, man. Like, and as far as I want to throw this up here from 520 Collective, he says, he's glad they're back in the big game, but he wished it would have happened in a different way. And I hear the point about, the Eagles not necessarily being battle tested per se. I disagree. Like, to me, the hallmark of really good or great teams is when you face inferior competition, you smash them. Like you snuff them out. There is no playing with your food. And that's, to me, that's the one thing that the Eagles have done all season long. They have crushed mediocre competition. This game, they didn't have to, like you said, Ward, they didn't have to go crazy or do anything because the game was in the bag. Once the guy can't throw the ball down the field. And I don't know. I don't know if you look, Jesse, to Jesse's point, it's amazing that $1 billion industry doesn't have the necessary cameras everywhere on every field. And they do, right? They do have a lot of cameras there, but I mean, there's only so many angles you can get to in the Niners booth, in the replay booth because they're running hurry up, right? That's the whole point is you got get on the ball. I don't think we did this, and we need to do it before they get a view that allows them to challenge. Maybe to Rece's point, you got to be a little bit of a risk taker.
And I think, like, I mean, the NFL has done well this year instituting things where somebody from New York can call down and say, hey, you got that's going to be ruled incomplete and stuff like that. So they've instituted ways to try to get around this. But at the end of the day, that you can't take away the full humanistic part of the games. And that is, hey, it was called a catch on the field. Come on, let's hurry up here. That's taking advantage of one of the loopholes in the game. Like, everybody should be doing it. Like, if not, if you got it out, definitely that early on that big of a play, I'm not worried about one timeout. This is the NFC Championship. I'm not, I mean, you seen Kansas City do it, and on that one, they was like, we got to take a chance on this because this is a touchdown. If we got it wrong, we're gonna take the chance. Like, take the chance.
Yeah.
Because what's more valuable, in my opinion, you got this timeout when you are because at the time they still had all 3 of their timeouts, right?
Yep.
I mean, it was early. Yeah,
early. You got
that's
all
the first drive of the game.
This is a 4th down. That they making this play on. Like, this is huge. The outcome of that play versus losing a timeout, you should have threw the challenge flag. If there was any question, you should have threw it. Because losing that one timeout that early in the game, you can manage the rest of that first half with 2 timeouts if you're smart. And he's a smart enough coach to be able to manage 2 timeouts. I mean, you got to think about it. They call a timeout just to prevent losing 5 yards on a delay of game early on. If his offense was on the field and about to get a delay game, he'd have called that timeout with the quickness to save himself from losing 5 yards. And you don't want to take the risk on a big play like that.
I do agree with what Jesse said about the cameras, though, because we saw a punt hit the wire and we couldn't get a camera on it. You know what I mean? The dude punted the daggone ball, hit the wire, and we couldn't get a replay on it. To say, this 38-yard shank, 28-yard shank, or whatever. But like, I do believe that there should maybe be some access, or maybe some kind of access to more cameras for somebody up in the press box that, for those coaches to be able to kind of toggle through those quickly. But at the end of the day, yeah, you're right. Like, you call a timeout to save 5 yards on a delayed game. Like, it's 4th and 2, and we watched the guy make a one-handed. I mean, it was a crazy catch. It was already an extremely difficult catch. It wasn't like just a regular catch on the sidelines. Did he get his feet in bounds and drag the toe or whatever? It's like he literally made like an acrobatic catch that is going to be hard to make cleanly, you know? So it's like, bro, you know, throw the flag.
Yeah, and Titus makes a great point about contrasting the lack of challenge flag from the Niners versus what the Eagles did when Purdy's arm gets hit, right? Ball gets knocked out, propelled forward, Eagles recover, clear recovery on the Eagles side. And you immediately see multiple Eagles saying, you know, throw the flag.
But I mean, usually, the camera is really quick on the quarterback, and I could tell the first time I saw the first interview that his hand, you know, wasn't going forward. So I mean, I get it, but at the same time, them cameras on the quarterback, they're usually pretty quick, you know. And to speak on like the Eagles schedule, I mean, you're playing the NFL schedule, you know. I don't like it when you watch college football and you're like, come on, bro, look what conference you play in. Look who you played outside the conference or whatever. You can look at some of these matchups and be like, y'all ain't play nobody, you know? At the end of the day, you play the NFL schedule, you know? Did they play a less difficult schedule? Sure. You know, could it come back to kick them in the butt in regards to like a close game, you know, that pressure on you, that kind of stuff or whatever? Possibly, because they didn't, you know, they came out and beat everybody by a lot of points or whatever. But it's, you know, they're still one of the top 2 to 3 best teams in the NFL going into the playoffs, you know, and they're still here for a reason.
Absolutely. Like, they're still NFL teams, and you still got to go out there no matter what a point spread might say, no matter how confident you might feel that this team is not beneath you or is beneath you. You still got to go out there and execute. You got to make things happen. So, I mean, they deserve credit for that. They are one of the best teams in the NFL this season, and you can't take that away from them. Shout out to Titus, said he thinks catches should stand based on coolness and degree of difficulty. I mean, I can hear that. I feel that to a certain degree. Anything else y'all want to say about this game before we jump into the AFC matchup?
No, I'm good.
All right, cool. Y'all let us know what y'all think, man. Y'all can keep jumping in the comments. Remember to hit like and subscribe if you're watching us live on YouTube. Also share. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter all at once. So continue to share so more people can get in tune with the content. All right, so the heavyweight matchup of the night, like the main event, took place Sunday evening. Bengals versus Chiefs. Before we really start to react to the game, Rece, were you at the game? I know you're a season ticket holder. Like, can you just like give us for those who were not there, what that atmosphere was like in the stadium?
I mean, Arrowhead is always crazy. Like, the energy at Arrowhead is always crazy, but it was heightened this week, right? With all the trash talk coming in and from Bengal fans, definitely on like Twitter, and then basically all of Cincinnati was just crazy talking. So that always make the Arrowhead crowd respond. So they was loud from the jump and really didn't let up. Like, it was crazy. I mean, you seen it. Like, it caused penalties, like, on them. Like, the Arrowhead crowd, man. If you push the right button, you ain't gonna be in too many places that's louder than it, man. It was crazy.
That's what's up. All right, so Ward, I'll start with you, man. Like, your response to what you watched between the Bengals and the Chiefs on Sunday.
Man, I very rarely get. I mean, we talk about it all the time. The Patrick Mahomes effect is that he makes great look normal. You know what I mean? And it's just, you're very rarely, like these days, as you watch him, like overly impressed. Like, wow, I did not know that he could do something else that was going to make me be like, yo, this dude is literally the greatest quarterback ever, And that's what I saw in the game. Like that's just legit, like what I saw in the game. Like, in it, some of it has to do with the fact that he's on one ankle and you're like watching him persevere and just carry the team and put him on his back. But at the end of the day, he's been the best quarterback in the NFL. But he's also had a lot of weapons and different things like that over the last few years that make big plays for him and stuff like that. And what we saw on Sunday was a guy, injured with a tight end that might not have played, with the top 2-3 wide receivers out of the game early, your best linebacker out, your best cover corner out against a team that has the best wide receiving core in the NFL, and then you got Patrick Mahomes out here. I'm watching the last like 10 minutes of the game in like almost in pain because I'm like, how is he gonna do it? Throwing it to Marcus Kemp and Sky Moore, you know what I mean? Knowing dang well they're gonna be double teaming Kelsey. I was ye of little faith. I was like, I don't. Getting a first down was so difficult in my mind with the personnel on the field. But then you look and you like, 15's back there, bro. Like, but God, that sounds blasphemous, but it's like when you watching it, like I'm a Chiefs fan, you like, yo, but Patrick, you know what I mean? Like, and that's how he's built, man. And then watching him step up in the pocket and make that touchdown throw to Valdez-Scantling, watching him, just scramble at the end or whatever. You're just like, yo, this is wild. Like the dude really is an incredible player and an incredible competitor, and the defense. The defense stepped up in like a big way. The rookies stepped up in a big way. And we made it difficult. And one thing that we was talking about with the Eagles not experiencing, right, like that smash mouth game or whatever, is the week before the Bengals pretty much handled the Bills, and the Bills defensive line didn't really get to Burrow. I think Von Miller was out, right? But like they didn't, like they were still down 2 offensive linemen, but they go into the Chiefs game like, oh, we took care of the Bills at home last week with this offensive line, and then he gets sacked 4 times on his first 9 passes. And it's like, oh, we're not going to be able to do that this time, And that's the kind of thing is like, you wonder if teams like to kind of coast in and like in situations like that or have this false sense or whatever, when they get hit in the mouth, how to react. And so it was a beautiful game in the fact that you saw a lot of people step up in their roles that all season you haven't seen. I saw Pacheco interview afterwards and Josh Williams said, you can't call us rookies anymore. Like we're growing up before your eyes. And like a lot of them grew up before your eyes in the game, and then for Sky Moore to come and have a 29-yard punt return, there at the end after everybody, all the Chiefs fans like, God, why is he back there kicking return? Is he, every time, he's talented, but there's just in the back of your head, for him to come through like that, for the other guys, it was just all 3 phases, man. And yeah, man, it's a great feeling because of what Rece was talking about. Like Cincinnati, man, they just running that mouth, And let's be honest, the Bengals aren't a team that's been there before, and that's kind of what happens. Is like teams, that kind of catch a wave or whatever and haven't really been there before, like they get a little bit, too big for their britches. And I think they found out, I think there was just a little bit of extra oomph in that crowd, a little extra oomph in that locker room. And that's why, that definitely helped out. So,
all right, Rece, your response to what you saw on Sunday.
I mean, what I seen on Sunday, man, honestly, as a whole, was really adversity throughout the season prepared the Chiefs for this very moment. Like the adversity that Buckner had to go through with the missed extra points, to miss field goals, to come through in the clutch like he did. Adversity prepared him for that moment. Sky Moore, 3 muff punts through the year, losing your punt return job. Everybody basically mad at you, you hated this. I mean, even when he went back there, I'm like, man, just catch the ball. I don't care what you do.
Right.
I don't care if you get
fair catch it.
Yeah. I was always at the point like, hey, man, just move.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I was thinking. Like, just let it bounce. Because whatever we need to do, we need to get the ball in 15's hands. Right? So that was my thought. But adversity prepared them for this moment. And it goes to good coaching, really, to show that coaches never gave up on these people. Coach, even Tobe was like, hey, he's going to be still catching punts in practice. We're not going to stop working with him, and it paid off, right? Even the young cornerbacks, you're not expecting Jalen Watson to have to play the snaps he played this season, but your number 1 draft pick and Trent McDuffie goes down first game of the season, and you got to thrust a 7-rounder in there. Then they do good. Then Watson goes out hurt, and you got to thrust Williams in there. And they play good enough where they was like, you know what, let's ship Rashad Fitton on out of here and let these young boys play. And they got beat a couple times. They got some penalties. They got some stuff handed to them all season, but it prepared them for this moment. Like,
They got beat a couple times in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, but Cook got hit with that slanting goal on that 4th and 6th. That dead leg, and was all turned around. But they faced it. He came right back.
I mean, because Higgins made a great play over Watson, and then Chase did what Chase did, made a spectacular catch over Watson and Cook right there together. Like they kept fighting. They made plays when it mattered. Even McKinnon was kind of banged up, and you seen Pacheco had to play more on third down, and you seen him have to play all season. Turned around, caught the ball, and picked up the blitzes. All these type of things was stuff that they got thrusted into early in the season, and then it showed up. And really, like, the difference to me was with the Bengals in each 3 games they won, it was like they had, in a sense, fight back to come and win those games. The Chiefs honestly controlled this game all the way into the 4th quarter when Mahomes lost that fumble. Like, even though the game was close, the Chiefs was in complete control of this game until that very moment that happened. Right? If he doesn't fumble that ball, we probably not even having we probably having more of a 10-point, 14-point win, honestly, than we're talking about a 3-point win. That 4th quarter fumble, that late third or something like that, changed everything to get them back.
And it was on the Bengals side of the field too, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was around midfield, maybe at a 40-yard line, but they were moving too.
And it was just a fluke thing. Like, I see quarterbacks do all the time. They try to throw that quick screen, don't really try to get the ball good, and it just slipped out. With a healthy ankle, he probably recovers. And you could tell he was trying to protect that ankle while he was trying to dive for the ball, too.
Yeah.
But I really feel like, everybody kept last year, like when the Chiefs lost in the championship last year. And they was like, man, Burrow had this horrible offensive line. The Chiefs couldn't even get to him and sack him. The Chiefs couldn't even – I'm like – the defensive line of the Chiefs was not a strength. It wasn't like they had a weakness down and the Chiefs had a strength. It was weakness on weakness last year. Chiefs didn't have a pass rush for real. They're at the bottom of the league too in pass rush. So, of course, we didn't get to them. We was weak. But this year coming in, being second in the league in sacks, you like, this a little bit different. Like, they should get to him. Spags coached the best game I've ever seen Steve Spagnuolo coaching since he's been in Kansas. Like, his game plan, moving the way he moved them boys around, the way he brought the linebackers up to make that center at least have to hesitate to account for him, putting where the center really couldn't double nobody, how he spread the line out. Like, the way he coached that game defensively was simply amazing. And then the youngsters just stepped up. But it all come down to what Mahomes, at the end of the day, Mahomes and Chris Jones, man, the 2 stars leaders on your offense and the other leader on your defense, they carried the team. And that's what you're supposed to do. You the all-pro, you the first team all you're supposed to carry. And that's what they did, right? Mahomes didn't even have a running game. You would think this game would be a game they had to dominate the run to win, but they didn't. I mean, he made a 3rd down play to freaking Marcus Kemp.
Yeah.
Like Marcus Kemp. MVS only had 100-yard game this whole season, right?
MVS came up huge with a few catches, man.
Absolutely.
Mahomes' completion percentage to MVS throughout the season was 51%.
Yeah.
That is terrible.
Aaron Rodgers looking at MVS. Oh, really? Now you're doing that?
But when he caught a couple of tough passes, like that one, he had to turn around and reach back.
Make the adjustment.
I mean, even when Mahomes stepped up through that touchdown, like I thought it was late. I thought it was about to be picked. And I mean, and Mahomes just willed itself, man. It's Jordan, bro. Like that's the only thing I can compare it to is when you got that type of player on your team, the rest of the team has so much confidence that like we still in this. We can make this happen. They got the ball back with 30 seconds when Scott Moore took that punt, and you like 30 seconds. We got enough time to get in field goal range, even when
they like last year we needed 13.
It just gives you that type of confidence. Just like Jordan, we got 1 second left on the clock. Cool. Like, long as we got enough time to get it into his hands, like that's how you feel with Mahomes, man. He just brings that, that confidence to your team. So it was a hard fought, man, because Cincinnati's a good team. Like, I can't take anything away from Cincinnati's a good team. I know they fans is yelling, refs this, refs that. Refs gonna have bad calls every game, but the calls they made were the right call. That 3rd down and 9 call, I would be upset if I was on the Cincinnati side of that where they got to replay it. But I mean, you literally seen the ref running on the field trying to stop the play. No one seen him. It's too loud in there for them to hear his whistle blowing, and they had to play it over. It was the right thing to do. If I'm on
We got sacked anyway. I mean, it had the punt, right? I mean,
we got sacked the next. Well, no, we got sacked the next play, but then that holding call on Eli on Hilton against MVS gave us a first down. But then we didn't do nothing with it after that.
yeah.
So none of the plays really turn like even that intentional ground that they think shouldn't have been intentional ground or whatever. They still got the third down completion to Hurst off of that and kept the ball moving. Cincinnati had every opportunity to win this game. That's what I wish Bengals like. They had every opportunity to win this game handed to them in the fourth quarter, and Joe Burrow didn't get it done. Simple as that. Just like Mahomes last year had every opportunity in the fourth quarter to win that game despite everything that had happened that game, and he didn't get it done. Just like that sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to me, and I'm gonna get to the referees in just a second, but to me, that was the major takeaway of the game, right? In all three of the previous games, you had the Bengals stepping up in some shape, form, or fashion, making the play. This Burrow escaping Chris Jones twice, scrambling and getting the first down. It's making the throws. The defense getting the interceptions, getting the stops. And for the first time in this series, in the fourth quarter, right? Because the Chiefs have normally played well throughout the game with the Bengals. It has been, we have this discussion all the time about what's more important, what happens in the first quarter or the fourth. I've been in the minority in saying they're both equal. It's just that when we talk about narrative, when we talk about storylines and legacy, all those things are written in the fourth quarter, right? This whole Joe Burrow, Joe Cool, Tom Brady, Joe Shiesty thing was built off the back of him being good when it passed. He would be okay in quarters 1 through 3, but in the fourth quarter in the playoffs, he would step up and make all the necessary plays to win. And for the first time, it was the Chiefs getting the sack. It's the Chiefs getting the turnover. It's the Bengals making the crucial mistake to close the game out. And let me say that I feel bad for Osai, right? Like that is something that is going to stick with him throughout this entire offseason. I don't know if he's got the MRI, if he's gotten himself, if it's a torn ACL or not, but the fact that you make that play to close out that game, you push Mahomes when he's clearly out of bounds, and now you have to live with that throughout this entire offseason. And if it is an ACL, you probably don't even get to come back to try to redeem yourself on the field. And he had a really good game.
I mean, he played a great game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so to not have the opportunity to even come back on the field with your teammates and try to redeem yourself, like that is something that's going to stick with him. Hopefully he'll be able to get over it over this offseason, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be with him all throughout the offseason and into rehab. So now let me you mentioned the referees. I want to jump this real quick. Man, we got it. Y'all got to stop. Y'all got to stop. Like you said, Rece, the block in the back, that was a legit call, right? That should have been called. It got missed. Okay, cool. The grounding, that's grounding, bro. He threw the ball in the dirt. The ball had to bounce to get to P-Ron for him to be in the area. The play where Chris Jones sacks him the final time, he let it on him with his body weight. First of all, go back to the Raiders game. The call was made because they said Derek Carr was in a passing posture, right? He still got protections as a passer. When you see Chris Jones bearing down on Burrow, he crouches down. He's not in a passing position. That's a legal play. It's not holding on Brown nor Smith. Rip move on Smith. It moves his arms up. You get protection as a passer, as a blocker. I'm sorry. As long as you are moving your feet, he doesn't get by you. He escorts him right on past Mahomes. And Brown, it was a great pass set from him. He locked up Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson looks like a little bit of a bull rush. He stonewalls him, and that's it. And he's in control of it. You guys had two opportunities in the fourth quarter, tie game, ball in your quarterback's hands to go down and tie to take a lead by field goal or touchdown. Burrow throws an interception. They move a little bit, but they get stonewalled on your final possession of the game. You had I get it. And this is the NFL's fault with them not being consistent and not being good with their officiating crews all year. And it's also the fault of them having all-star teams. We don't need all-star teams. Grade your best crews and put your best crews out there to reward them for the season that they had, and stop using these all-star teams, because it leads to all kinds of issues. And that's my stance on the referees. Like, I don't want to hear that anymore. Like, stop.
They had bad calls on both sides of the ball.
Absolutely.
Like some calls took away the Chiefs thing. Like, but it was a good call. Like, when you go back and look at it, did Andrew Wiley hold on that Isaiah Pacheco touchdown? He did. Like, could you let it slide? Yeah, but it was a touchdown that got put off the board for Kansas City for one of the refs' calls. Anytime a team loses, the fans are going to look for a reason that's outside of the fact that your team just didn't perform well.
Right.
It's simple as that. Like, you're going to look at it and you're going to be like, you know what? Oh man, we had the opportunity if the ref wouldn't happen. Like, yeah, that roughing the passer call was a legit call. Did it come in a horrible time of the game? Yeah, but your quarterback has 2 feet out of bounds is getting called every time. I don't care if it was Jared Goff or Patrick Mahomes. That is getting called every single time, because 2 feet out of bounds, the quarterback's going to get hit. It's unfortunate, but that ain't what lost in the game.
The thing that lost them the game, and what the Bengals fan needs to realize, is that the Chiefs had the best offensive player, the best defensive player, and the best coach in the game. And all 3 of them performed at the highest level in which they can perform. And it's like, Chris Jones, best defensive player on the field, period. Better than any defensive player on the Bengals. Patrick Mahomes, the best offensive player on the field, better than any player on the Bengals. And Andy Reid's a better coach. And they all came to play, And so it's not, don't be upset that, that you lost to people that are better than you.
And they want to talk about we was down 3 offensive linemen. We lost Tyler Boyd. I'm like, did you see all the players that we lost? We lost Willie Gay. We lost Snead early. Like, we played.
Yeah. Snead played 4 snaps, right?
4 snaps. And the rest of the time, you got Higgins and Chase. And Boyd went out probably a series after that playing against 3 rookies. Like 3 rookies. And if you take away a couple of plays that Trent McDuffie slipped, he locked everything up on his side in that slot. Like, he really did. Like, it was a great coaching, but 3 rookies.
Tell Jesse Abbey save that we stuff, man. He a Lions fan. What's he talking about? We lost half of our team. Hey, bro. Hey.
Yes, we.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, even Cook. You had a deep safety playing that's a rookie. You got Karlaftis playing that's a rookie. Mm-hmm. Like, these are people that's never been in this game situation before, right?
Yeah, there's something that Titus said earlier that you put on the screen, and it's like the Chiefs front office does not get enough credit for how well they draft, considering they never have a pick in the top, 15 since Patrick Mahomes has been here.
Right.
I mean, Veach has got to be GM of the year. Like that. I don't know who else is going to be GM of the year. Like, yeah. So let me run through this real quick. In the first round, 2 first-round draft picks: Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis, Sky Moore, Brian Cook, Leo Chenal got snaps Sunday, Joshua Williams, Darian Kennard has not been active this year, Jalen Watson, Isaiah Pacheco, Najee Johnson. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 picks. 7 of them playing major roles in an AFC title game, and an 8th one who got snaps out of a 10. That is unheard of.
It's crazy.
That is unheard of.
And and it's not even this year. Like, look back to like guys like Trey Smith, guys like Creed, guy, even Willie Gay and Bolton, and it's literally continue, and it goes way, and it just goes away. The Chiefs have just they've done a great job.
4th round.
Yeah,
man, I don't know. Man. We got these Eagles fans in the comments talking about Howie. Howie Roseman does deserve a lot of credit for what he has done. Also, we're gonna have to break this down like Cody. You know, who got moments, who got impact. Ransom.
Howard did a great job of paying free agents money.
Yeah, AJ Brown got that bread. They brought over Slade Jr. They brought over Bradbury. You know, he did. He opened the checkbook. I ain't mad at that.
And paid some people, and it paid off. We'll see how the Rams effect works.
There's a difference between metaphors and real rap, you know.
The Rams did it last year. They got them Super Bowl. You know, it might do the same for the Eagles. You open up the paycheck, the book, and pay some top players, right?
Yeah.
That don't last though. That to me, that is the difference. Like it may get you to a Super Bowl like it did the Eagles. It may get you, you know, some wins this year. It may get you a Super Bowl championship. Who knows how the game go? But it doesn't last. You build successful teams to last down the road through the draft, not free agents.
Yeah,
I hear that. Both of those guys have done a great job. Now let me get my bars off real quick, man, because first of all, the media, it cracks me up. Like the media spent all last week hyping up the Bengals. Burrowhead, is Burrow better than Mahomes? Who's the better? Burrow's the better QB than Mahomes in some people's eyes, yada, yada, so on and so forth. You got the freaking mayor of Cincinnati out here talking, running his mouth. And then everyone wants to act surprised when the Chiefs are getting a little chesty and want to talk they talk because they won this game, right? I think me and Titus talked about this last week. I don't want to hear ever again about a quarterback being better than 15. Dead it. It's done. I don't want to hear it. I don't care what happens the next 5 years. That is the best quarterback in the league. We're not talking this is not top 2, not top 3, not top 5. Cut it out. He's the best in the league on one leg. Sprained ankle. I don't know if y'all saw his Instagram clip where he plays forever with Drake. Like a sprained ankle, ain't nothing to play with. Put some respect on his name. He was out here throwing to guys who look like us on the screen on Sunday, and he was getting it done. Finding Marcus Kemp, somehow establishing a connection with MVS. All those guys go out, they're double teaming Kelsey. Kelsey becomes a non-factor. He got it done. Final play of the game. Hadn't ran all game long. And then he puts on that 40 time of I'm faster than whoever's chasing me, and he gets the job done. People were saying, well, there's 8 seconds left. It's probably going to overtime. We saw what he did in 13. Don't tell me he couldn't have gotten another 5 or 10 yards with running some play that made it a little bit more of a feasible field goal try. He's the best in the league. I don't want to hear it anymore. He's Jordan. He's Steph. When he has the ball in his hands, everyone is on the other side terrified. Hey, shout out to Titus. He ran down what happened when they faced the Eagles last year. Touchdown. He went through the drives. Touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. Interception, touchdown, touchdown. 5 TDs, 260-something yards. I think he only missed 6 passes the entire game. He is the best quarterback in the NFL, bar none. And I don't want to hear about Herbert, Lamar, Burrow, whoever, Brady. I don't want to hear. The argument is done. Thank you for your time. This has been my TED Talk.
You're right, though. You're right. I was arguing with Emmanuel Acho on Twitter, and I said, talent-wise, he is clearly above everybody else. You know what I mean? And he responded, well, if you believe he's clearly a more talented quarterback than everybody else, then I understand why you're saying what you're saying. I'm like, why doesn't everybody else understand this? You know, like there are great quarterbacks out there, but we talked about it earlier. He makes the intangibles are normal to him. He makes it. He's got a different set of intangibles that are called, you know, ridiculous passes, being like this to the ground or running for 20 yards on a high ankle sprain. Like it's literally like just it's a different level, you know, in what the dude can do. And it's not bad to be Burrow and Josh Allen and these guys, but you have to understand it's not 1A and 1B. And it's barely 1, 2. It might be 1, and we just gonna save the space for 2, and then everybody else is just 3, 4, 5. Like that's the gap. There's a gap between him and the rest of the NFL quarterbacks.
Absolutely. Shout out to this comment from Titus. Y'all remember the line?
That is hilarious.
Shuddered at Mufasa's name. That's how that is hilarious, man. That's hilarious. But yeah, man, like he is the most accomplished quarterback we have ever seen in this league. Never played a road playoff game. How is that possible? Never played a road playoff game. Every game at
Yeah,
home.
he did. No, he didn't.
No, never. Yeah, no, he's never. It's every game has been at
He
home.
just played at Tampa Bay against Tampa Bay, right?
In the Super Bowl, right?
In the Super Bowl. I mean, it wasn't technically a road playoff game,
But yeah, yes, Ed, he's one of one. Patrick Mahomes is one of one. There's nobody like him. And going to be a 2-time MVP, playing in his 3rd Super Bowl in 5 years. Like, this is unbelievable. We're seeing things we've never done before. And we need to stop and just appreciate greatness. So often we are in a rush to crown who's next, to try to create rivalries where there are not one. We just need to stop and appreciate what we're watching and just take the time.
Yes, I'm gonna do the exact opposite of what you just said, right? So I'm not gonna stop. And I'm gonna say this. I do believe he needs to win this Super Bowl to stay like parallel that conversation to talk about being like better than Brady.
He is better than Tom Brady.
No, he's better than Tom Brady. But I'm talking about all time. Like we can't crown him that yet.
He is better than Tom. All right. And we like Tom's going, no matter what Mahomes does the rest of his career, he's probably not winning 7 rings. Like, we can get that out of here. It's probably not. It's not gonna happen.
But I think he needs more than one. I think he needs. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he needs more than one. But even if he just sticks with like Tom was carried. I love Tom Brady. Tom has talent. And he's made some big throws in some big situations and all of that good. But let's not act like Tom's defense didn't carry him to a lot of those championship rings. Like, just straight up. Like, they went 11-5 or something like that with Matt Castle when Tom went out. Like, and the division was garbage, trash. Like, and that's not taking anything away from Tom, but Tom cannot do the things that Patrick Mahomes can do. Patrick can do everything that Tom can do.
I'm just saying, you got to get another ring, and then the one time you caught Tom, in that Super Bowl, you got.
I mean, he got, but even then, he was like, you see Tampa Bay's players on camera. Like, did he just do that? Like,
how is he doing this?
Williams in a face mask while throwing lateral to the dude was levitating and threw a dime. Like, hit Tyreek Hill in his face mask. Like, man, listen, there is no one close. In NFL.
Absolutely. And listen, shout out to the Philly collective in the comments. I know Jalen Hurts has had an amazing season. It has been a top. He's had an MVP caliber season, but Patrick Mahomes, I think, was voted All-Pro, and I think he got 49 out of 50 votes for All-Pro. I think I've heard somebody say most of the people who vote for All-Pro also vote for MVP. Jalen is going to finish number 2 this year. He got to come back next year and try it. That award already has Mahomes' name on it right now, guys. Like, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Jalen has proved a lot of people wrong. I think shout out to him for overcoming the odds, because we had to hear this foolishness about, well, Gardner Minshew can run the offense just as good as Jalen. He can produce the same results. We saw what happened once he got out there. He did not produce the same results.
He had a good game, didn't he?
In losses.
Gardner Minshew?
In L's. Yeah, in L's. He won one game. I think he went 1-2.
Was the first game that they played?
I think it was the first game he won. He lost. He won, and they lost 2 straight, and they brought Jalen back to try to get it done. And I understand some people say, well, that just means that, it shows Jalen's that why he should be the MVP, right? Because he's not there. The best ability is availability.
I mean, if we're being honest, Chad Henne did do a 97-yard drive. We 98. 98.
Hey, I got one thing before we get out of here. Let me take a quick victory lap, because I got on this show, I've said some things that have attracted a lot of negative attention. I brought up the fact that after you have your team set, that a backup quarterback is the most important position on your team. I have been vindicated by that. in these playoffs, Chad Henne coming and doing his thing. Gardner Minshew was good. He didn't win a bunch of games, but he did play well. Saints game wasn't his best effort, but we have seen backup QBs come in and lead 98-yard drives. I also have said, shout out to the Eagles, that an offense and defensive line is the foundation of your team, even above sometimes a franchise quarterback, because not everybody can have a Patrick Mahomes. And you look at what, again, shout out to Howie Roseman, guys, to the Eagles fans in the chat. He has built an offense and a defensive line. And look, I saw clips. While I think the Niners defense played better than what they're being given credit for, despite the circumstance, there are some clips of Jordan Mailata and Jason Kelce absolutely destroying the interior of the Niners line and just basically just saying, throwing people out the club and just opening a hole that even I could run through at this age. Like it was very impressive, right? So I've been vindicated in a lot of things that I've said on this show that's gotten a lot of pushback. With that being said, I'm not going to ask you guys, we're going to close out the show on this. I'm not going to ask you guys to pick a winner. Rece, if you're free, I already know, Joe. I already know. But what if you can name just one, if you have multiple things that you are looking for as key matchups or key things that either team needs to look out for in order to come out victorious in a couple of weeks? I'll start with you. I'll start with Rece.
One thing, I mean, like you said, the Eagles' offensive line is great, definitely the interior. So what can Spags do to create a matchup that gets Jones away from Kelce? Because I think that, that's a matchup that Kelce can win sometimes one-on-one, but that Jones can win sometimes one-on-one, but also Kelce is great, and he's gonna hold his own there as well. So I think you're going to have to do some things that you've seen like this week in moving Jones around to be able to get him some favorable matchups. Playoff Clark, man, Frank Clark going to have to show up again in a major way. I mean, the key thing right now for the Kansas City Chiefs is health. Like these 2 weeks, they got to find a way to get healthy. I heard good stuff come out about Willie Gay. He looks good to go. Sneeze and concussion protocol. 2 weeks should be enough time to get him back. But the way that ankle went with Tony and Juju Burley being able to get down the stairs, after the game, I don't know what they do. Like you can't go into this game with Justin Watson, maybe McCole, but I don't think he made it back. I think he might be like you can't go in this game with Justin Watson, Sky Moore, MVS, and Marcus Kemp and expect like to really do something. Slay and Bradbury is too good for that. Mm-hmm. They are too good for that. So we have to figure out something at receiver. Like I don't know who else is out there that maybe used to be on the practice squad or something like that they can bring back that already know the offense. I don't know. So I think health is the main concern to me going into this game. Patrick Mahomes, he'll get more healthy. He's not going to be 100% on that ankle because a high ankle sprain just takes 4 to 6 weeks of nothing and just treatment to be right. But he'll be better this game than he was, this AFC Championship. So I just think that, man, the health of the Chiefs, I mean, for the Eagles, they got a squad. The Chiefs are going to have to find some way to make them one-dimensional. Like they're going to need to jump out and be on their neck early and try to get up 14, 17 points to try to slow down their run game. Like I said, Chiefs being if they didn't play it against the Lamars, the Kyler Murrays. Why Hurts presents a little something different than that with his ability because of his strength, and they played against the Josh Allens, and that can run those power runs and run the run options. I do think they are more prepared to face a quarterback like Hurts than maybe some other teams. I feel like they've been tested here, but I think that's going to be the main thing. Can the Eagles win this game? Absolutely. Like no bones about it. They can. But I think the Chiefs, long as they're healthy, they have a good shot.
All right, Ward, what you think? What's a couple of things you're looking at in terms of what the outcome of this game could hinge on?
Yeah, the Eagles are a much better team than the Bengals. And I think that like after looking at, this past week and, how we beat the Bengals, I think that the Chiefs are going to have to play much better than we played this past week. And we played very, very good. Dadgum, dogs. You the Eagles, you the Chiefs. All right. Well, apparently the Eagles won. But But what I would say is I would flip the script. I would say the Chiefs' offensive line against the Eagles' defensive line. I think that one of the things that's getting lost is how good the Chiefs' offensive line is. And don't get it twisted. The Eagles got 4 guys more than 7 sacks. I think they got, with Fletcher Cox, they got is Brandon Graham is Graham still there? Is it?
Yeah, Brandon Graham.
And then Chronicles of Riddick, and whatever, like literally, I mean, they are, but I think that the Chiefs offensive line is a little bit underrated in what you're seeing with this matchup. But I really think it's going to come down to that turnover battle. Like, I think it's going to come down to the turnover battle. And the Chiefs have been doing a great job outside of Mahomes' slip up of protecting the football. And I think that, if we can get a couple key turnovers, if we can, get Chris Jones to get some pressure. But, man, the Eagle, look, that's not Eli Apple and Hilton back there. You know what I mean? That's not in.
I think the Eagles are better defensively. I don't think the Eagles are better than too much better than the Bengals.
No, they're not. I think that they are more complete. They run the ball like Joe Mixon and P. Ryan were never a problem. You know what I mean? Now, granted, the Chiefs did a great job of stopping some of those runs, but I think that the Eagles with Hurts and Miles Sanders is a clearly better running team, and they have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, which is a comparable 1-2 punch to Chase and Higgins.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with everything that you guys have said. I think the health of the Chiefs, like, it'll be crazy for Mahomes to go into back-to-back Super Bowls with a depleted offensive line in one, and then a depleted wide receiver or room on the other. Like, that would definitely suck. I was actually looking at the practice squad, and I'm like, Amir Marset Smith, maybe it's your time.
Where's Cornell Powell at? Where's Cornell Powell?
Rum Nitty's not on the team. He's got released, man. I actually was looking that up.
Yeah, Cornell Powell got put on the practice squad injury list.
Yeah. So,
is Chris Conley still? Did he end the season with the Tennessee? Or is he just out there floating? Because they might
Conley,
real tough. They might have to bring the boy back. But the thing about the Eagles too, though, I think they're number 1 in the league in sacks. The Chiefs is number 2.
Yeah.
I really think the Eagles being number 1 had a lot to do with how far up they was in game and pin your ear back and rush those mediocre quarterbacks because of how that you knew they had to pass. I want to see the Eagles and how they perform in something close. That's something you just really ain't had a chance to see. And I think if it comes down to that, the Chiefs are just proven.
Yeah. And I'll say this in closing, man. Like, I think in that game, I think that championship DNA, like, teams have pride. And what you saw on Sunday from Kansas City was a team that was sick and tired of hearing about the Bengals and what they've done and what they've accomplished and how they have simply been the better squad. And you saw, like, I said it in one of the group chats I'm in, like these guys have pride, they have ego, and it was put to the test in terms of everything that they face. And so shout out to them for stepping up. And that could be, granted, there are a bunch of guys on that Eagles team who Jason Kelsey was there, Lane Johnson. I don't know if Lane Johnson was healthy when they won in 2017, but I believe he was on the team. Brandon Graham obviously helped seal the Super Bowl, Fletcher Cox. So there's a bunch of championship DNA on both sides for both teams, and it should be an exciting matchup. Like I said, we know who everyone here is picking. I have not made a determination who I'm picking yet. So tune in next week to see who I'm going to pick. Rece, I might have you back next week. We'll see if things line up and how things may.
We'll talk after this to see if you did a good enough job, and if so,
Of course I did.
He
big time now. You know what I'm saying? Arrowhead Pride, you know what I'm saying?
We got a couple other applicants we need to look over. We'll.
But yo, man, we appreciate everybody for tuning in. Shout out to everybody who jumped in the comments from Facebook and YouTube. Remember, please, to like, share, and subscribe no matter where you watch. You can follow us on all social media by searching at Brains and Bars, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can also, again, follow us on YouTube. You can find us wherever podcasts are being streamed. Shout out once again, Rece, for coming through. We appreciate it. Wow, he has better. I mean, come on, man. This last comment I'm going to read. Philly has better theme music than the Chiefs. That's the real X factor. I mean, No comment. I'm not gonna say that. I got a lip here, so no comment on that one. But shout out to Mama Ward. Good night. Have a good evening. I am awardmerch.com for all merch. Big K battle goes down this weekend in Atlanta on RBE. Shout out to Rece. You can check him out at Arrowhead Pride. I'm pretty sure he'll have some pieces that'll be coming out, some articles that'll be coming out as they lead up to the Super Bowl. Also, check out his podcast he does with the homies, the Los Factor, and B Talk That Ish. You can also find that podcast wherever they are streamed. Please check them out. They do dope show. It's I don't want to call it a relationship podcast, but it is a lifestyle podcast. A lifestyle podcast. They talk about a little bit of everything. I will recommend a particular pod that they did of what is your trauma response. To me, that is the best one that they have ever done. So please check them out. Talk Dat Ish, DATISH. Until next time, it's been a black
and white
thing, man. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. Y'all have a good night, man. And this will be out in a couple of days. So deuces.
Holla.